On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast, new data shows that Tesla's brand loyalty remains stronger than that of any other automaker in the industry. Plus, advanced Smart Summon finally arrives. Tesla's AI team has published a roadmap for upcoming FSD releases and more. What's happening, friends? Ryan McCaffrey joining you alongside Daisy the Boxer. It is episode 475. Nice little mini milestone here. It's Ride the Lightning, your weekly Tesla unofficial podcast for September 8th, 2024. Boy, episode 500 will be here before I know it. In fact, gaming it out on the calendar, early March, if everything goes according to plan. So in the meantime, welcome to episode 475. And I want to start this episode by saying a huge congratulations to Raphael, Justin, Nancy, and Gary, aka the Arctic Cybertruck team. You heard from them, what was that, last week or 2 weeks ago? I can't remember which episode is which anymore, but you heard from them recently here on Ride the Lightning about the journey they were about to undertake. Well, they have undertaken it, and they made it. They made it to the Arctic Ocean. Mission accomplished in both Cybertrucks. Raphael, even as promised, I don't know if he said this on the podcast or just said it to me, but he said he was going to take a swim. He was going to take a dip in the Arctic Ocean, and he did it, and there are pictures of it, and boy, it looked cold, but he did it. They made it. What a great lifetime memory for all of them to make. That'll make such a wonderful story to tell for years to come. Before I get going with the rest of this week's appetizers and then main course in the podcast, I want to remind you that the Tesla referral program has returned. I went into detail on this last week, but the long and the short of it is a great offer for this version of the referral program. A $1,000 discount on a Model 3, Model Y, Model S, or Model X. This is only, or at least you can only use a referral link if you've never bought a Tesla before. So if you're a first-time Tesla buyer and you enjoy the podcast, I would love it if you would use my link, which is ts.la/Ryan73014. I'll also put the link in the episode description. You have to order by clicking that link in order to get the $1,000 off. If you already have a Tesla, just buy one on the same account, same email address that you already use, and you will get the loyalty discount. So it's the same thing, just under slightly different terminology. But for those of you who have never owned a Tesla before and you are ready to buy one now with the great deals that are going, the great financing, the 1.99 that Tesla's doing on the Model Y and the Model 3, if you need a referral link to get that $1,000 off, feel free to use mine. All right, let's keep moving. Here's a quick follow-up on last week's Bloomberg scoop about the Robotaxi/Cybercab event that we now know is taking place at the Warner Brothers lot in Burbank. This update comes via our white hat hacker friend, Green the Only, who finds his way mentioned on the podcast every now and again. And Green posted on X, quote, "So I guess the recent Bloomberg news piece explains why Tesla started extensive data collection in WB Studio area," in quotes, because I guess it's something tagged in the cars that he's found, 4 or so days ago, and this was posted earlier in the week. He says, "This is in addition to other areas like Tesla Diner, various SF and Bay Area pieces, and so on." Well, it's no surprise that Tesla's out gathering HD map data for that Warner Brothers backlot, but the Tesla Diner is in there too? I wonder if maybe Tesla's planning to do passengerless test drives out to the Tesla Diner in Hollywood once they get their regulatory approval to at least operate prototypes on the public streets, similar to what Google did with Waymo, where first they were running them around with drivers in the seats, and then they were running them around with nobody in the car at all, no driver, but also no passengers. Now here in San Francisco, you can actually take a driverless ride. But anyway, I wonder if that's part of what Tesla's thinking here too, is that they want to send it out to the Tesla diner, because it would be a very cool Hollywood kind of thing to have the cybercabs roll up to a drive-in diner that's also a supercharger. Because after all, that is exactly the kind of place where you like to have a car show and or a car club gathering, right? Is at a diner, at a drive-in. And in this case, both at a drive-in diner. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, think about it. I've talked about this on the podcast before, but the Tesla diner will soon be a place where you can go basically have an impromptu car show by accident. You could see a Plaid S there, one of the quickest production cars in the world. The Plaid X could be there, the quickest SUV in the world. The Cybertruck, a Performance Model 3, Performance Model Y, and the Cybercab stopping by for a quick spot of juice maybe from the supercharger, or if the person riding in it wants to go get something to eat. So, and then I'll add, hopefully soon, this Tesla diner impromptu car show scenario will also be joined by the next-gen Tesla Roadster. That would be nice as well. Now, as for the San Francisco and Bay Area locations that are being mapped, well, that's no surprise. Lots and lots, if not most, if not almost all of the autopilot engineers live up in my neck of the woods here in the San Francisco Bay Area. The engineering headquarters, after all, is in Palo Alto, here in my neck of the woods. And if Google's running Waymos around San Francisco, well, I'm sure Tesla's going to want to do the same with cybercabs, even if, like I was saying a moment ago, they won't necessarily be able to have any members of the public in those cybercabs in the beginning. San Francisco, if you've never been here, has a lot of weird and just, well, I guess Tesla would call them corner cases in terms of intersections and roads and lanes, and it's a strange city to drive in compared to, say, I grew up mostly in the Phoenix area. Downtown Phoenix is about as straightforward as it gets, and that's a compliment. It's just a nice, easy grid. Okay, there are a few one-way streets downtown Phoenix, but it's hard to get lost, and it should be pretty manageable for a driverless vehicle. But downtown San Francisco is another animal entirely. So I am sure that the engineering team, the autopilot team, is going to want to send them up into the city and all over the San Francisco Bay Area. Big thing to keep in mind right here, we are, as this podcast goes live, just a tick over, maybe right at, depending when you're listening to this, but we're basically T-minus 1 month to go until the Cybercab unveiling. I cannot wait to see what Tesla's going to show off. And I'm expecting an HFS-clad, paintless vehicle. Maybe they'll have one wrapped on stage in some sort of taxi, you call that a livery. There we go. Livery was the word I was looking for. But I just cannot wait to see this thing. I'm expecting it to be very cyber, very out there looking in hopefully a super cool way. And it's coming right up, October 11th. Okay, speaking of new Tesla vehicles, by the way, this week's Patreon poll is not tied like it usually is to one of the news topics this week. It instead poses an interesting question that was sent in by loyal listener Nadav. And Nadav asked this after watching a YouTube video about a tech YouTuber that transplanted the guts of a Plaid Model S into a Honda Odyssey minivan. So the question is, what would you like to see Tesla do with the Model S and Model X production lines' extra capacity? Because Nadav emailed me with a link to that video about the Honda Odyssey with the plaid guts in it. And he said, the Honda Odyssey and Tesla's Model S and Model X share the exact same wheelbase and almost identical door placement, making their body swap relatively easy. And then Nadav notes, with Tesla's declining Model S and Model X sales, which for the time being is unfortunately the case, and considering their peak production capacity on that line, wouldn't it make sense to try a third body style on the same platform? And I think that Nadav brings up an interesting idea here, because Model S and Model X sales have declined a bit, and Tesla clearly does have extra production capacity on the Model S and Model X line. So with that, I asked you this week on Patreon, what would you like to see Tesla do with that line's remaining capacity? I offered 4 choices plus a 5th one that was saying you have another suggestion. So 34% of respondents voted for, I'd like a full-size 3-row SUV with traditional doors. That kind of surprised me. I thought that the minivan would win out, because I know there are a lot of families out there. Minivans are beloved by a lot of families for a reason. Just they're very practical, ton of space. That one came in second. 24% of you voted, do the minivan. And close behind that, 21% of you voted, a traditional box van / sprinter van would be great. 17% of you voted for add features and or adjust pricing on the Model S and Model X to get their demand back up so that the extra production capacity on that line just stays with the S and X and we just want more of those. And then 4% of you voted other. A few comments here. Daniel Green saying a minivan with Model X drivetrain would be the ultimate sleeper. Anthony Eddington, I apologize, Anthony, if I got that wrong the first time, wants to see a right-hand drive Model S and Model X come back. I definitely feel for the right-hand drive folks on that one, the folks in those territories. Richie Clock says a camper van. And then, let's see here, if there's anybody else worth it. There was plenty of good comments. Actually, Richard Taylor also saying, please reintroduce S and X to the UK. So thank you all for taking the time to vote in this week's Patreon poll. A friendly reminder that though my Patreon page is the place to go and sign up to pledge some support to the podcast, if you want to give something back to what I'm doing here with Ride the Lightning, you can go do that on my Patreon page. But the Patreon poll is free for anybody to vote in. It's completely open to the public. I just want everybody to stop by and vote so we get a nice sample size of votes in each week's poll. And we did that again this week. Well over 200 votes in this week's poll. So you can find my Patreon page at patreon.com/Tesla podcast. Patreon spelled Patreon. The new poll typically goes up on Tuesday evenings, so swing on by and cast your vote in each week's poll question. Still on the appetizers this week, we're just about, in fact, this is the last of the appetizers before we get to the main course. Tesla has released a winter tire and wheel package for the Cybertruck. The product description page on this reads, Cybertruck Cyber Wheel and Tire Package provides improved traction, stability, and braking efficiency in conditions under 45 degrees Fahrenheit. This package is 3-peak mountain snowflake 3PM SF rated for areas that require winter tires and offers all-terrain capability for an improved off-road experience and improved toughness. Includes 4 Cyber wheels, 4 285/65 R20 Goodyear Duratrack tires, and 4 Bluetooth-enabled BLE tire pressure sensors and nuts. Now, the price of this, you may be wondering, is $3,000, which, I'll be honest, is less than I would have guessed. And a big part of the reason I say that is because other Tesla tire and wheel packages can be more money than that. I'm surprised that the fairly large Cybertruck tires are that reasonably priced. I mean, maybe you don't think it's reasonable, but reasonable to me relative to other tire and wheel packages that Tesla sells for their other cars on the online Tesla shop. And So yeah, for me, that $3,000 seems like a pretty nice price. If you break it down, you're getting tires and wheels with this. And I looked them up. The tires go for $475 each. I checked Tire Rack, I checked Google, and $475 for this exact tire was the going rate that I found. So that means it's $1,900 just for tires, excluding tax, like if you were to buy them outside of this tire and wheel package. So $1,900 just for the tires, leaving $1,100 to cover the wheels and the installation at a service center, which is included in that $3,000 price. So all in all, I think that's not too bad. I'll at least say I don't think Tesla's gouging anybody with that $3,000 all-in price tag for those winter tire and wheels. And more immediately relevant to me, and maybe a lot of you out there who are waiting for the general production, I should say, you're waiting for the general production Cybertruck. This $3,000 price tag for winter tires and wheels, it gives me confidence that my previous $2,000 pricing guess for the Cyber wheel and all-terrain tire option on the general production truck is going to be accurate, because for $80,000 for the $79,990 when general production starts for the dual motor Cybertruck, there's no question. I'm extraordinarily confident. I'm as confident as I can be without actually having it confirmed by Tesla that it's going to be the all-season street tires and the core wheels that are going to be what comes with that base model for $80,000. If you want those Cyber wheel covers that come with the all-terrain tires, that is absolutely going to be an additional option cost. And I think it's going to be $2,000. So hopefully it will not be more than that. And if it wants to be less than that, if Tesla wants to just make it $1,000, that'd be even better. But that's my guess for that option, $2,000. And we'll find out soon enough once general production starts in the next probably 30 days or so, even at this point, is when I believe that we will see the start of general production on the Cybertruck. Okay. Before I get to the main course of news stories, I hope all of you who are kindly and generously supporting me on Patreon at that $10 tier or higher, that $10 per month tier, I call it the ludicrous tier because all of my support tiers on the Patreon are named after Tesla driving modes. I guess except for Roadster and Space, which is the top tier. That's not officially a driving mode, but it is for one Roadster that's currently floating through space faster than any Tesla has ever gone or will ever go in history. Anyway, if you're backing me at that $10 per month tier or higher, I hope you enjoyed this week's Lightning Round mini episode. I do them every single week on Patreon for all of those folks who are kind enough to support me at that $10 per month tier or higher. And this week's mini episode was about trying to guess some Cybercab features. Talking basically about stuff inside the cabin, features that I think this Cybercab will have for its passengers. So check that out on my Patreon page, found again at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. A reminder that there is a 7-day free trial available for that $10 per month tier, so you can sign up for that 7-day free trial without actually plunking down any money if you just want to see what's doing over there on Patreon. And if you're kind enough to support me for an entire year and you choose the annual pledge option, I say thank you for doing that by giving you a 10% discount on that annual pledge. All right, here we go. Starting with the headline story this week, Tesla's brand loyalty remains strong. According to new research by S&P Global Mobility, and by the way, I saw this story on the Tesla Motors Reddit, but the write-up that I'm reading you here is from Forbes, who writes, Tesla is the leader in brand loyalty. That's what a report from S&P Global Mobility, a major automotive intelligence firm, says. a conclusion seemingly at odds with recent media narratives. Quote, among individual brands, Tesla continues its run as the leader in brand loyalty with a rate of 67.8% for the first half of 2024, S&P Mobility said this past week. Customer loyalty has remained relatively constant, according to Vince Palomares, Associate Director of Loyalty Product Management at S&P Global Mobility. Vince says, quote, Tesla has historically been a brand with strong loyalty ties among their consumer base despite a limited product portfolio. Changes in BEV prioritization among other OEMs, along with Tesla's directive to cut pricing when needed, has kept households from defecting, end quote. And as Forbes notes, customers are staying loyal to the brand even amid a constant drumbeat of media criticism of CEO Elon Musk. Reports from media outlets like the New York Times that say Musk's politics is turning off owners. Quote, we can only report what we see in the data, Palomares told me in an email. Not me, literally me meaning Forbes, sorry. He continues, in this instance, there is some decline in Tesla's loyalty for the first half of 24 versus 2023. However, that decline is below 1 percentage point, he said, adding that Tesla is clearly beating other brands. Quote, the brand still remains the industry leader in brand loyalty by a healthy margin. For comparison's sake, the industry brand loyalty average stands at 52.5% for the first half of 2024, and no other brand has a loyalty rate above 60%, he said. So, I think most people, and the data presented here seems to back this up, I think most people don't base their vehicle purchase on the personality of the CEO. Because a vehicle purchase is a huge thing for most people. For most people, it's the second biggest purchase they'll make other than their home. And so it's, a lot goes into the consideration of a vehicle. And, for me, it's life isn't the zero-sum game that what you read online might sometimes lead you to think. And I've talked about this a lot with my experience with the Cybertruck earlier in the year, where, again, if you go out online and you pick any forum thread, any Reddit thread that posts a picture of a Cybertruck or has some article with a comment section, it is tons of people dunking on it, saying how awful it is, how ugly it is. In real life, my experience and that of a ton of other Cybertruck owners, well, I'm not a Cybertruck owner yet, but my experience and the day-to-day, week-to-week experience of actual Cybertruck owners is that real life is just not reflective of what you see online. And so, for me, it comes down to this. Life is, as I said, it's not a zero-sum game that when you read online you might think it is. And I think most people out there are perfectly capable and willing to not necessarily agree with the things that a single person at a company does, because there are 100,000 plus other people that are putting their hearts and souls into that company and into those products. And most people can feel that way, meaning they might not necessarily like what somebody at the company says, but they can still absolutely love the product that they bought and want to support the mission that the company is not only talking the talk on, in Tesla's case, but walking the walk on as well. It's not just a Tesla thing. You can dislike, I know he's been gone for a while now, but you can dislike how Steve Jobs treated people if you ever read the authorized biography that funny enough, Walter Isaacson wrote. That was the first Walter Isaacson book I read, was his Steve Jobs authorized biography, which I thought was really good. If you haven't read it, it's definitely worth a read. But so you can dislike how a Steve Jobs treated people at Apple, but still love your iPhone. You can be upset with a Jeff Bezos for, well, probably plenty of reasons, like maybe not paying Amazon workers better wages, but you can still be a Prime subscriber, right? It's both things can be true at the same time. And certainly, now I say this, certainly anyone is free to spend their money how they please. That's the beauty part of having a free marketplace with literally dozens of car companies in said marketplace. There really, truly is something for everyone out there. For instance, while you and I might love the Cybertruck, other people, yes, even in real life, not just people online, but other people out there won't love the Cybertruck. And that's okay. There are lots of other choices for people out there. But what I want to focus on to end this story is to actually circle back to the core of it, which is that brand loyalty data. The average, did you catch those numbers? I'm going to read them to you again. The industry average of brand loyalty per this completely independent research is 52.5%. So basically, 1 out of every 2 people will come back and buy a car from your average car company again, and one won't. One's going to move on. Tesla dropped a mere, actually less than 1% year over year. But even with that oh so slight decline, they still sit at just over 2/3 of owners remaining loyal. 2 out of every 3 people who buy a Tesla buy another one. 67.8% was the number again. And no other brand, as you heard, is even close to that. No one else even cracks 60%, and Tesla's out there pushing up against 70%. And to me, it just speaks to the absolutely amazing cars that Franz von Holzhausen, 2-time guest of this podcast, and the entire design team, the entire engineering team, Lars Moravi and the engineering team have created, and the manufacturing teams at the various Tesla factories around the world have brought into reality. And on this note, because we're talking about loyalty to the brand, I have to also give props to the software team, to the AI team, meaning the autopilot team, because if you drive another EV, and I'm not trying to throw shade here at anybody else, I'm not saying anybody else is bad, but I think if you drive another EV from pretty much any other manufacturer, maybe except Rivian, most people would agree after doing a comparison test that software-wise, user interface-wise, Tesla is simply head and shoulders above everybody else in the software department. And part of that are the continued, regular, and free software updates that keep adding new features to our cars all the time. As it specifically pertains to loyalty, again, I think that has got to be a significant contributor. My car is now over 6 years old, and it is unequivocally better than it was when I got it. Are there a couple of things that aren't as good? Yeah, I guess it would be the curb rash on the wheel that I gave myself yesterday. That's not as good as when I took delivery. That's on me, not on the car. But there's a pretty short list of things that I could tangibly, they're just wear and tear things, right? Like I guess my driver's seat probably isn't as pristine and marshmallowy perfect as it was when I first took delivery. But if you look at everything else about my car other than unavoidable wear and tear things, my car is absolutely better. I'll give you the quick list of why my car's better and how it really feeds into the loyalty. Like this, everything I'm about to list off is a significant contributor to why I will absolutely remain loyal to Tesla. There's not even a question in my mind about buying anything else. Not that there aren't other good, like Rivian is making 2 great products. It's not that other cars are bad. It's that Tesla they do so many things from the beginning of the process of, again, the car on a sheet of paper to 6 years after I've taken delivery, that keep me coming back. So in the last 6 years, my car has gotten quicker through 2 software updates that have dropped my 0 to 60 time twice. It's gotten faster. My car's top speed was 155 miles an hour when I first got it. Now it's 162. My car has video games in it now. It has a built-in security system in it. It can now drive itself, including within cities. It goes, the list just goes on and on. I could keep going, but I want to move on to the next story here. I didn't even mention, by the way, the safety aspect, which Tesla beats everyone on safety. Again, not that other cars are all unsafe, not a zero-sum statement, but Teslas are the safest cars. So the off-the-charts relative to everybody else loyalty rating here, to me, is both not a surprise to any of us, any of you listening, or to me, but I think it's also a testament to the incredibly smart, talented, and hardworking people at all levels of the company at Tesla that take these cars from that aforementioned sheet of paper all the way to long after they've been delivered to us, the customers. Next up this week, Tesla finally gets its ASS in gear. I'm referring, of course, to Advanced Smart Summon, and its clever acronym, which has begun its rollout to regular paying customers like you and me. I first saw this posted on X by Tesla tipster Sawyer Merritt, and the release notes for advanced, I was going to say actual Smart Summon, but Tesla's saying, now I'm questioning myself. If I wrote the wrong thing, I'm going to have to double check that in a minute, but no, it is actual. I had it written wrong, my bad. The release notes, actually Smart Summon. The release notes read as follows: buckle up for the ride of your life, except, surprise, you're not in the car. ASS, actually Smart Summon, in parentheses, allows your vehicle to come to you, or head to a spot that you choose, all on its own. It's like magic, but with more tech and less hand-waving. Additionally, Dumb Summon allows you to move your Tesla forward or back with simple controls directly in your mobile app. Well, a few videos were posted fairly quickly of this, as you would imagine, from the first folks that got their hands on it, and they all showed Teslas running around big, complex parking lots, although most of them, in fairness, I have to say, most of the videos that I saw were all in empty parking lots. There were 1 or 2 that were actually in a Costco parking lot with humans in it during business hours and other cars. But that is going to be the real test. I want to see more and more of busy Costco parking lots, because other cars around, other pedestrians around, regardless of whether or not those other cars are moving, but certainly especially when they are, those are the videos I want to see, because I've seen enough videos of Summon Teslas on the old Summon, Advanced Summon, or Smart Summon, bumping into poles, bumping into other cars, that I'm gonna let other people prove this one out for me before I'm willing to give it a try with my own car. But if indeed it works as we'd expect it to, then that means it would be a huge step forward for convenience and usability of the cars, whether it's bringing the car to you outside the door of the supermarket or movie theater parking lot when it's pouring rain out, or hopping out of the car at a storefront, say same shopping center parking lot, same scenario, but you're pulling up, and then you send the car away to a targeted parking spot. So really cool stuff. Continuing, talked about it a second ago, with our cars get better and better all the time. They're better now than they were when we took delivery of them. And it's stuff like this that goes a long, long way towards that. All right, before I get to the rest of this week's news, I wanted to mention a couple quick friends of the podcast, starting with Climatize. This week's episode of Ride the Lightning is sponsored in part by Climatize. Now, it's probably safe to say that most of you listening support cleaner energy, whether it's the Tesla in your garage, or if you've got solar panels on your roof. I certainly do. So does Climatize, which is an investment platform that allows you to fund renewable energy projects across the U.S. while potentially earning up to 10% annually. If you'd like to learn more about the offerings on their platform, please go to climatize.earth. Yes, that is the website. Just type in climatize.earth and it will take you there. If you choose to invest through Climatize, know that it's open to anyone who has a U.S. bank account and is over the age of 18. You can get started with as little as $10, and there are 0 investor fees. If this sounds like something you might want to get involved in, Climatize is offering a $25 investment credit to Ride the Lightning listeners. Go to climatize.earth and use code TESLA1 to get $25 in investment credit once you complete the onboarding process. As I mentioned last week, I did my research on these guys and I was impressed. They were a finalist in Fast Company's 2024 World Changing Ideas Awards in the Impact Investing category, so check them out, but kindly remember that I am obviously not a financial advisor, though I am married to one. So this is not a solicitation to invest, and all investments carry risk, so please consult with a professional before making any financial decisions. Thank you, Climatize. And then, of course, my friends at Accelerate Auto and their XCare extended warranty option. Tesla only offers a fixed 2-year, 25,000-mile extended warranty option for your car. You have to have bought the car from Tesla, and you have to purchase the extended warranty before your 4-year, 50,000-mile factory warranty expires. The XCare plan from Accelerate Auto is far more flexible than that. They cover everything Tesla does and more. For instance, while both Tesla and XCare have $100 deductibles and 24/7 roadside assistance, XCare also offers rental reimbursement and trip interruption coverage. And then they also have a battery and drivetrain policy that you can add on to your regular policy if you want, so that the most expensive component of the car is covered. Or, again, just talking about flexibility here, you can skip the regular extended warranty and you could just buy an extended warranty policy for your battery and drivetrain if you just want to cover that most expensive part of the car. So, go to, if this is of interest to you, go to accelerateauto.com/xcare. That's spelled XCELERATEAUTO.com/XCARE. And don't forget to use the discount code LIGHTNING for $100 off your purchase. If you need the link to that, because I know it's spelled a little funky, the link is in the episode description, if that is helpful to you as well. Okay, getting back to the Tesla news. Tesla's AI team, I've already talked about them on this week's podcast, aka the Autopilot team, they now go by the broader AI team. They've published a roadmap for upcoming FSD releases. This is pretty cool. This comes via the official Tesla_AI account on X. And the team says, due to popular demand, Tesla AI team release roadmap. So September 24 of this, meaning right now, version 12.5.2 with about a 3x improvement in miles between necessary interventions. Version 12.5.2 on the AI3 computer with unified models for AI3 and AI4. So that has started to roll out. As of this recording, on my Hardware 3 car, or AI3 as Tesla's calling it now, I have not yet received version 12.5 quite yet. Hopefully soon. Also in the September 2024 roadmap, the aforementioned Actually Smart Summon, Cybertruck Auto Park, which has already begun rolling out, eye tracking with sunglasses, which is part of 12.5, end-to-end network on highway, which I believe is also in 12.5, and Cybertruck FSD. So that one, as of this recording, we are still waiting on. October 2024, Unpark, park and reverse in FSD. And then also for next month, version 13 with an about 6x improved miles between necessary interventions. The roadmap's not done. While there's nothing listed for November or December, Q1 2025 lists FSD in Europe, pending regulatory approval, and FSD in China, pending regulatory approval. So, number one, thank you to the Tesla AI team for putting this out there. Number two, as always, take these timelines with a grain of salt because these are not easy problems that this team is attempting to solve. Remember, just as a recent example, that the release window originally given for FSD in the Cybertruck was June, which we're now over 2 months past. So I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm recognizing these are not easy problems. So just don't place any Vegas bets on the release dates of these. And I just think it's nice for us to even get to see the roadmap. Like I applaud and appreciate the transparency that the Tesla AI team is showing here. As to the specific updates, adding park and unpark to FSD, that's going to be super cool because it means that theoretically you will soon be able to go completely end to end without ever touching the controls, from backing out of your garage to pulling into a parking space at the supermarket or whatever. That is pretty darn cool. Also, my other comment on this roadmap is that it appears that version 12.6 has been renamed to version 13 after Elon had recently said that we should probably look at the major point releases within version 12 as the equivalent of full new version releases. So I guess Tesla is going ahead and doing exactly that. If they're forecasting for October, I will keep my fingers crossed that, okay, sure, that hopefully it'll be October, but trying to, again, take it with a grain of salt, my hope is that this will be part of the holiday software update that we should hopefully be seeing in December. And again, if it arrives sooner than that, great. But if it ends up being a little later and part of the big holiday update, that would be pretty sweet as well. Finally, sorry, I do have one more comment on this roadmap. My European listeners out there can start getting optimistic about FSD in your cars. Finally coming in the next 6 months or so. You've all been waiting for an insanely long time, so I am rooting for you. I am rooting for a smooth rollout here that does not get hung up by any regulatory red tape. Finally this week, and I hate to end on a negative note, but this is an interesting story. I think it's worth... You got to bring the good and the not as good. You got to have that balance in order to, in order to be fair, basically. So Tesla got its first negative review from a police force that was using a Model Y as a police vehicle. I saw this on Teslarati, who says, "We go to Menlo Park," which, by the way, is about half an hour south of me, so my neck of the woods, where the police department there has found the Tesla fleet to be less than ideal, even going as far as saying, quote, "They do not appear to be the patrol cars of the future," end quote. In 2019, the Menlo Park, California City Council voted 3-2 to adopt a sustainable fleet policy in 2020. The Model Y Long Range was chosen as the vehicle for the Menlo Park Police Department, beating out the Ford Mustang Mach-E and some other EVs. 3 units make up the EV portion of the Menlo Park police fleet. Teslas need to be outfitted and modified for police use. Lights, sirens, seats, specialized seat belts, communications equipment, a gun rack, window guards, and ballistic door panels are all equipped to make it a full-fledged law enforcement vehicle. The department cited higher upfront vehicle costs as well as higher police outfitting costs compared to the Ford Explorer hybrids they typically use. They cited issues with some of the Tesla's smart car features and also cited space constraints, saying, quote, "The width of duty belts," I guess that's the police, the specialized seat belts, "and bulletproof vest do not fit well in the bucket seat, and the height of the center console required larger officers to sit at an angle or with their sidearm pinned and inaccessible while in the vehicle. The equipment overhangs the passenger seat, making it nearly unusable. This is not an immediate issue, as the current patrol operations do not deploy 2 officers in every vehicle, but would limit the ability to transport personnel or change operations in the future. In particular, the passenger seat space would not allow training officers to comfortably sit next to a trainee for a 12-hour shift, preventing field training for new officers. The rear seats provide very little room for anyone detained or transported in the back of the car," end quote. However, there's a little quote here from a city council member, presumably that voted yes for this, and she says, "I am very proud that we tried the Teslas, and not everything works," said Betty Nash. "I appreciate all the work that the police department did with working through all the bumps," end quote. I have to say, this is surprising, given that literally everything else that we've heard thus far from other departments has been praise. Now, the good news is that a police department that would be making this same consideration of a Model Y as a police vehicle right now, they have a much higher chance to end up being happy. Now, while I can't argue with the subjective complaints about space constraints, or I guess the money side of it's not subjective. That's an objective thing I'll get to in a second. But in fact, I'm going to get to it now. Money is the ultimate decider in these use cases, and the money side of it is a much better deal now than when Menlo Park embarked upon this experiment. As we know, the Model Y has come down in price a lot from the $64,000 that the Menlo Park Police Department paid for their car in 2022. In fact, that's 20 grand right there that they could save by doing a long-range rear-wheel drive. So maximize the range. They probably don't need the all-wheel drive. So that's a $20K difference right there. As far as the police outfitting of the vehicle goes, well, you now have Unplugged Performance and their Upfit program that I talked about recently that I'm guessing could probably do the outfitting for that police department for less money than what the Menlo Park Police Department paid 2 years ago. But still, again, I wanted to share this story with you because I do think it's important to talk about the good and the bad, particularly when the criticism that the Menlo Park Police Department provided was constructive criticism. They weren't just being anti-EV or anything like that. They cited reasons that were legitimate for their use case, and I hope that Tesla can and will learn from that. And not just Tesla, but Unplugged Performance. Now, again, this vehicle was not an Unplugged Performance vehicle, and perhaps, again, a lot of the criticisms that they had, perhaps they have already been addressed by the Unplugged Performance version of a police car. So it's all learning. It's good feedback. That's my point here. All right. That is everything I've got for you in another super busy week of Tesla news. But stay tuned. I've got some of your Ride the Lightning hotline phone calls queued up and ready to go right after this.
Hi, this is Franz von Holzhausen, and you're listening to Ride the Lightning with Ryan McCaffrey, the Tesla unofficial podcast.
Welcome to the Ride the Lightning hotline. It's your place to call in and potentially be featured here on the podcast. If you've got a Tesla question, comment, or discussion topic, you can call in anytime and, again, possibly be featured on an upcoming episode. There are 2 easy methods to call in. The first one is to use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software. Record your question on there. Please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less so that I can get to as many people each week as possible. And then email that file to me at my Tesla Podcast email address, which is simply teslapodcast@gmail.com. Or you can take that same 90-second or less question and call in and leave a message on the Ride the Lightning hotline. That toll-free number that you can call anytime is 1-888-989-8752. Again, that's 1-888-989-TSLA. And if you know someone special out there with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they're special. The recordings can be podcasted or put onto a keepsake. Visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. First up in the Ride the Lightning hotline this week is Jeff from New Jersey talking about the new Model 3 Performance he just got.
Hey Ryan, it's Jeff from New Jersey. It's been a while, and I have some significant catching up to do with the podcast for sure, and some listening, which I'll be doing in my new Performance Model 3, which I just picked up about a day ago. Like you, I had an original 2018, and it was definitely time with 6 years and close to 100,000 miles on the odometer. It was really time to upgrade. The Highland so far has been phenomenal. The steering and handling are impeccable. Obviously, the acceleration goes without saying. I'm curious if others are upgrading any of the interior-exterior components. Car comes with a spoiler this time around. 20-inch wheels, red calipers, and some carbon fiber. But I am curious if those who have picked up the new Performance Model 3 are upgrading any of those components. I'm also curious if people are going to be swapping out their wheels come wintertime. For us in the East Coast, it means a second set of wheels in the snow, as the car comes with summer tires only. Again, as always, keep up the great work. I really enjoy listening, and curious what folks have to say. Thanks so much.
Hey, Jeff, congratulations on that sweet upgrade. I have to say, I was quite impressed with my recent 30-minute test drive of the new Model 3 Performance, as you heard me talk about, 2-3 shows ago. And if there were no Cybertruck, I would almost certainly be buying a new Model 3 Performance right now. I will say, to address your call, from here in the San Francisco Bay Area, now that I'm starting to see a decent number of the new Model 3 Performance on the road, 99% of them look unmodified to the naked eye. I've only seen a couple of them that have swapped out the wheels or done something else, but if you're itching to make some modifications, I would wholeheartedly recommend checking out what Unplugged Performance has to offer. And I promise this is not an ad. I've seen the work of Ben and the team. Ben, you may remember, came on the podcast a year or two ago. We had a really cool conversation about the origins of his life with Tesla and how he's been next door neighbors business-wise to Franz and the design team over in Hawthorne for a long, long time, totally by accident. And those guys, Unplugged Performance, are really committed to being basically like the unofficial AMG of Tesla, or M of Tesla, or whatever other brand comparison of the performance badge you want to use. I mean, they've got wheels, they've got suspension upgrades, body kits, all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, hey, check them out. And no matter what you do and wherever you get the parts from, be sure to send me a picture, because I would absolutely love to see it when you feel like you're done with it. Thanks, Jeff. Next up is Gil from San Diego, responding to some comments I made about Hardware 3 a few episodes back, when I was lamenting the possible soon-to-be dead sooner than late, rather than later status of Hardware 3 and it's getting software updates versus Hardware 4. Go ahead, Gil.
Hey, Ryan, Gil from San Diego. You had mentioned something a couple episodes ago, it might have been as many as 4, about at what point does Tesla stop updating the FSD software for cars like ours, the sort of version, whatever our versions are, 2 hardware, 2.5 hardware, I think is ours, and starts focusing on the later hardware. And, it kind of passed by me at the time, although it sort of irked me a little bit, because you recall that when we all bought our cars and got FSD, we were told that our cars had all the hardware they would ever need to do full self-driving. So, it's one of those things where, like, perhaps they stop updating it at some point, but it can't be before the car is capable of actually full self-driving. Otherwise, I think Tesla has a pretty significant problem. Let me know what you think.
Thank you for your call, Gil. And by the way, Gil messaged me after this call when he noticed a post by someone who themselves noticed that Tesla apparently quietly deleted their old web page, saying that all cars built from 2016 onwards had the hardware needed for full self-driving. So, Gil, I agree that Tesla may have painted themselves into a bit of a corner there, perhaps even legally. You're a lawyer, I'm not, so I'll trust you. I mean, FSD is such a scrutinized thing, for better and for worse, that there could, I'm not saying there will, but there could come a time when a class action lawsuit gets started on behalf of owners of 2016 to 2018, in other words, pre-Hardware 3 Teslas. And again, I'm not advocating for that or rooting for that, but I do think it could happen. Here's hoping that Hardware 3 does continue to get software updates for quite a while, and that my worst fear from when I was talking about this a few episodes ago does not come to pass, or at least not anytime soon. Finally this week, let's hear from Alex in Illinois.
Hey Ryan, this is Alex from Illinois. I've got a 2023 Model Y, one of those standard range all-wheel drive editions. And we recently got back from a road trip over to Indianapolis. Got back with, 25%. Ran out to my mom's to pick up our 3-year-old golden retriever and had to stop by the grocery store on the way home. However, when I got there, I was at 19%. And if you're under 20%, it does not let you do dog mode or the climate keep. So I had to run her home and then run back to the store. So my suggestion for any software engineers that might be listening is that we need the option to override that, because anybody that's road tripped in a Tesla knows that whatever that battery percentage says, that's what it's going to be. And I know that I would have had absolutely plenty of battery to keep the dog mode on, get the groceries, and still get home with plenty battery to spare. Keep up the good work. Love the show. Thank you.
I could not agree with you more, Alex. Tesla could easily put a big warning message that tells you how risky it is to activate dog mode with such a low state of charge, and then encourage you to plug in the car as soon as possible. But they should absolutely let you, quote unquote, sign the waiver, if you will, and then override that restriction. Here's hoping that they do indeed do that sometime fairly soon. Thank you to everybody that took the time to call in. I promise I will get to more of your phone calls on next week's podcast. And again, if you'd like to call in, I gave you the 2 easy call-in methods at the top of this segment, so refer back to that. But this episode of Ride the Lightning is far from over. I've got your pro tip of the week and more coming up next.
This is Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief, Sierra 117. You're listening to Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast. That Cybertruck looks a lot like a warthog, doesn't it? Master Chief, out.
As for what's going on with me and my car, I am really looking forward to tomorrow, Saturday. I'm recording here on Friday, of course, as usual. Tomorrow, I am heading over to the Tesla factory in Fremont. They are having an event. They sent out word through the local clubs, the owners' clubs. They're having an event at the test track, which, as we all know, is not typically open to the public. They are going to whisk everybody around at presumably high speed. I signed a waiver in various Teslas. I presume it'll be Plaid S, probably the new Model 3 Performance in there as well. Hopefully, maybe Plaid X could be in there. I'd love it if they busted out some Cyber Beasts, but I suspect they want to sell the S, X3, and Y more so at this, because that is the whole point of the event. They're trying to get people to upgrade, trying to get people to bring their friends to get them to buy a Tesla in the first place. And really, this is probably a pretty smart strategy to do it, is invite them out to the factory, to the test track where people don't normally get to be, whisk them around at high speed, you get the adrenaline rush, and off that surge of fun and adrenaline, you're thinking, yeah, I want to buy one of these, or yeah, I want to upgrade my car to a new one. So I am looking forward to this. Just today, in fact, Tesla sent out a confirmation text that basically said, here, let's see if I can pull it up real quick. We're excited to see you at the Performance Track event, blah, blah, blah. We encourage you to bring additional friends with you to tomorrow's event and share the excitement. We will be able to honor more guests than just a +1. Minimum age to enter is 16. So when I got that, I posted it up on Patreon, not behind any paywall, just for anybody, any of you to see if you went to my Patreon page, just in case, any of you that are in the area wanted to come out. And a few of you had already signed up, so I'm looking forward to seeing a few of you out there. Should be a fun day. I mean, I've had the extraordinary privilege of being raced around on that test track before, back at the Plaid Model S launch event in June of 2021. So it's been a few years, and I am quite looking forward to it again, because it's not a big track, but you can launch from zero, from their starting point, hit 100 miles an hour, and then they have a high banked turn to the left as it starts its circle, its loop, that they were taking at the Plaid event. They were taking it at 55 miles an hour on this high bank turn, and it was so much fun in a Plaid S. So I am very much looking forward to this one, and I'll probably do maybe a lightning round about it for next week. Maybe that'll be. And I can mention something about it on the regular podcast next week as well. But in any case, I hope to see some of you out there. Also, on the total opposite end of the spectrum, in terms of from super fun to not fun at all, I mentioned this earlier in the podcast, but I managed to curb rash one of my wheels yesterday on what I will completely own up to and admit, it was a layup of a parking job. A layup, and I just blew the layup. There was nobody around, and I was going into an end spot because I like the end so that there's nobody on one side of me, reducing my chance of door dings. And it was a super low curb. Like, the curb was probably an inch or two off the ground. And I start backing up, and I hear the sound. Like, I checked my side view cameras, and then I looked up again, and I'm making the turn, and yep, I just missed. I just flat out missed, and there's a nice 1.5 or so long silver scuff in the dark gray wheels, and I'm so upset at myself, and I'll have to think about now. I'm trying to save up as much as I can for the big down payment on the Cybertruck, and do I want to get the wheel fixed? I mean, of course I want to, but do I want to budget for that? Do I want to take some money out of the Cybertruck fund to fix that wheel? It's just... Again, I know it's first world problems. I totally get that. But you guys know how much I try to take the best care I can of this car. And it's not the first time I've done it, but it's the first time in a while. And after I did it last time, I did have the wheels, the affected wheels, because I think there were 2 that I'd messed up a little bit. I did have them repaired and refinished. So this time it's like, well... We'll see. I don't know. I'll think about it, but that was the low point of my Tesla week. How about an entertainment recommendation to get back to happier things? I have definitely a TV show recommendation that I've been very much enjoying this show. The season's not over yet, and it's going week by week. It's on Apple TV Plus. I think 5 episodes are out as of me recording this, and I don't know how long the season is. I kind of presume it's 8 for anything these days, 10 if you're lucky. But the show is Bad Monkey. It's on Apple TV Plus. It stars Vince Vaughn, and it's labeled as a comedy, and there's definitely funny stuff because Vince Vaughn's just a very naturally funny guy, in my opinion. But it's a kind of a murder mystery with some humor thrown in, and I've been enjoying the heck out of it. So if you have Apple TV Plus, check out Bad Monkey. Pro tip of the week time. This one was left anonymously, so I will just play it.
Hi, Ryan. Appreciate your hard work with the show. Really enjoy it. Have what I believe is a pro tip. I haven't seen this or heard of this before, but when you go into screen clean mode, normally you have to get out of it, you have to hold it down for 3 seconds to get out of it, and sometimes you just want to get out of there and go. Well, quite by accident, I discovered that if you just press the brake, you can get out of screen clean mode immediately. Hope that works for some other people. All right, take care. Bye.
I did not know that one. Thank you so much for sharing that, because that is a good way to not only, as you mentioned, exit it super quickly if you want, but that's also a good way to get out of the screen cleaning mode without having to touch the screen you just cleaned, because normally, you have to press and hold the button for 3 seconds to get out of there. Great pro tip here. Thank you very much for calling in. And if anybody else out there has a good pro tip of the week that you've learned about your Tesla that you'd like to share with me and your fellow Tesla owners and enthusiasts, please call in and share it. You call in the same way that you'd call in with a regular Ride the Lightning hotline call, and I gave you the instructions for that earlier in the podcast. Before I go, I want to mention some friends of Ride the Lightning that can hopefully be of use to you sooner or later. I'll start with abstractocean.com. They've got a ton of great products for all the Teslas. Taking a quick peek here. Bestsellers, anything new? Model 3 mud flaps on sale for $55. What else? I could have used this actually yesterday when I messed up, when I curb rashed my rim. Rim trims. They start at $60. They're available in 3 different colors. So they have that for, I think, all the cars. And it goes on, like ultra bright lights. Oh, they have a lighting kit for Cybertruck now, too. So more Cybertruck products available. But they've got stuff for all of the cars, even Rivians as well, which is nice to see. So check that stuff out, abstractocean.com. Click on whichever car you own at the top of the page, and it'll filter the products by everything available for your car. The tempered glass custom fit screen protector made of Gorilla Glass is one of the most popular items. But whatever you like, throw it in your online shopping cart. And when you get to checkout, use the coupon code RTLPodcast to get 15% off of your first order. That's RTL Podcast, all one word, no spaces. The Snap Plate and newer Snap Plate Plus, available for SX3 and Y. Get it at everyamp.com/RTL. There's a discount there, too, using the coupon code RTL as well. This is the nice minimalist front license plate bracket that goes on securely, but can come off quickly with the included correct tools if you need to. So if you're in a state that requires a front license plate, or you just prefer to have one on there, I do very much recommend the Snap Plate or the newer Snap Plate Plus. So the Plus is strength optimized with hardened features for maximum strength. Both have the signature minimalist aesthetic that blends in nicely with the front end of the cars. Both are made from recycled, made in the USA plastics with stainless steel reinforcements. Again, get yours at everyamp.com/RTL. And don't forget the coupon code RTL for your discount. BudgetSafeSolar.com. I can certainly recommend that you keep them on your short list of solar providers that you're considering, which I'm sure Tesla Solar will be on that list as well, as it was mine. But my Budget Safe Solar installation is doing great. They now offer, I already had a Powerwall, but if you do order a Budget Safe Solar installation, they now offer home battery storage as part of the solar project. And yes, that includes Powerwall version 3. So check them out at budgetsafesolar.com. And if you do end up proceeding with an installation with them, please use the referral code RTL. If you are in or going to be in the greater San Francisco Bay Area with a car that you care about, be it a Tesla or something else fun in your garage, I wholeheartedly recommend that you take it to Immaculate Reflections. What an amazing detail shop. Jeff, the owner and master detailer there, will do such a great job on your car, whether you want to do ceramic coating so that you don't have to wax it for the next 5 years or so. Maybe you want to do paint protection film over some key areas, or maybe the entire car. Maybe you want to do paint correction to get your paint finish looking as good as it possibly can. Maybe you want to mix and match those. Maybe you want to do all of it. whatever the case may be, go to irdetailing.com. You can see examples of their work there, or of course, my own Instagram is full of examples of his work, meaning my car. But yeah, you can go to irdetailing.com, and you can reach out through there as well to either ask a question or book in a service. And if you do reach out and you want to book in one of those aforementioned services, be sure to mention that you're a Ride the Lightning listener, and Immaculate Reflections will kindly extend you the Ride the Lightning listener discount. Finally, my Patreon, I mentioned it a little earlier, but I wanted to mention it again here at the end. You can find it at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast, and this is the primary way through which you can voluntarily choose to support the podcast. And my hope is that as we are now hitting the mini milestone of 475 episodes, I certainly don't expect that you've listened to all of them. I know there are some of you in the 100% club of episodes listened to, and I am especially grateful to all of you, whether you're backing me on Patreon or not, but hopefully you can see my commitment to doing this every week for the last 475 weeks. If you enjoy this podcast, if you get a lot out of it, I would be humbled and grateful if you would consider a pledge, because your support is what makes this podcast continue to be possible every single week. The support tiers start at just $5 a month. So for the price of a Starbucks, a coffee, you can be supporting this podcast, and in return for your $5 per month support, you'll get early access to each week's episode. There's also the $10 per month tier that I talked about closer to the beginning of the podcast. That's the one most people are on. My hope is that you really get a lot out of that one. That's my hope anyway. You do get the early access each week, but you also get access to each week's lightning round mini episode. That's the 111 of those now that are up there. So join today at that $10 per month tier or higher, and you suddenly have 111 lightning round mini episodes right there ready for your eardrums anytime you want them. So the Patreon, again, if you want to check it out, and I'd be grateful if you did, it's patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. You can also find the link to that in the episode description as well. If you are not already following this podcast, which is totally free, on your favorite podcast service, I certainly recommend doing that, because that means that you don't have to remember when to go look for a new episode. You'll get a push notification on your device that tells you, hey, there's a new episode of Ride the Lightning available, and you can just tap that and it'll take you straight to it. Most of you, statistically, listen on Apple Podcasts, but I'm also on, I think, all the major ones: Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, TuneIn as well. So whichever one you prefer, just click the follow button or subscribe, or if you're searching for me, I guess no matter which one you'd be searching me out on, there we go. Just search Ride the Lightning Tesla, and you should find me pretty easily that way. I mentioned this at the top as well, but just real quick, if you want to get $1,000 off of a new Tesla, if you're a first-time Tesla buyer, please use my referral link to order your car, and if you do so, you will get $1,000 off that new Tesla. The website to go to, what you type in to your browser, either on your desktop or your phone, is ts.la/Ryan73014. That's a short link, and when you hit enter on that, it'll take you to Tesla.com, to a landing page where you choose S, X, 3, or Y. Click on whichever one you want to order, configure that car however you want, and submit your order. And then that way it'll have that referral link and thus the $1,000 discount baked in. You can follow me on 2 social media platforms, the 2 that I'm on, which is X and Instagram. I have the same username on both, and that username is DMC_Ryan. You can email me anytime about Tesla-related stuff at teslapodcast@gmail.com. And finally, I want to say hello and thank you to the Plaid, Maximum Plaid, and Roadster in Space tier backers. These are the top tiers of the Patreon, the ultra generous folks to whom I'm especially grateful. I will start with the Maximum Plaid backers. Actually, first I want to start with an apology to the Maximum Plaid backers because last weekend I scheduled our September monthly Zoom Hangout, Patreon Hangout, for what I always do, which is the first Saturday of the month at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. Until I remembered yesterday, Thursday, when I got that confirmation text from Tesla, that I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to be at the factory all day being zipped around the test track. I'm not going to be available for the call. So I had to reschedule it to Sunday, and I'm sure some people aren't going to be able to make it because of that. I know it's first NFL Sunday, too. A lot of people are going to want to watch football. I get it. So I apologize for the last-minute schedule change. I promise I will try to not do that again. But in any case, I do look forward to our monthly Patreon Zoom Hangout because they're always super fun. Always have a good time at those. The Maximum Plaid and higher folks are invited to every single one, but anybody that joins the Patreon for the first time or upgrades a pledge gets a one-time thank you invitation to whatever the next monthly Patreon Zoom Hangout is. And don't forget as well that every tier of the Patreon, if you're no matter what tier you're at, we have the community chat channel that's going in there. I would think of it like a Discord, basically. It's plenty active. I love seeing the chatter in there. I'll chime in. Other Patreon backers, other listeners will chime in. It's just called Open Tesla Discussion in the community tab on my Patreon page. So that's another cool little perk is you can just come in and chat with me, chat with your fellow Ride the Lightning listeners and Tesla owners and enthusiasts. So check that out. And so now I must shout out, as promised, the Maximum Plaid backers. They are Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Brett Libano, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Will Stedman, Justin Perez, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Richard Corley, Chris Osborne, KB, Adam Lavoie, ContactOneCallCenter.com, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Dustin Hart, Michael Gallo, Derek Finley, Charles Clement, Adam Christie, Damon Klein, and Jeff Brown. Next, I will go to the Roadster in Space tier backers. Thank you very much to Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Carol Weston, Robert from near Philly, Kristen Rumble, American Home Contractors, GetAmber.com, Doug Carey, and Rav. Finally, a shout out to the grandfathered in Plaid level supporters. They are George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, Not Elon Musk, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado. And that brings us to the end of the mini milestone Ride the Lightning episode 475. So grateful to get to do this for you guys week after week. I love talking about these cars and what this company is up to. It's been over 9 years. Not only am I not in the slightest bit bored or anything even remotely close to that. I have more fun doing this now than I did at the beginning, than I did in the first year. It's just become this fun little thing with it. Like, it's a community within the community. And that's super cool. That's super cool. I mean, I've always described this podcast as my attempt to make a positive contribution to the Tesla community. And I hope people see it and receive it as that. I guess I should say hear it and receive it as that. But that's the goal. And I just have a lot of fun doing it. And I'm super stoked for tomorrow. I haven't been to the factory since the Plaid launch event in 2021. Because they don't do factory tours. They did them for a minute with the referral points, but that's all over with. You can't book them anymore. So I hope Tesla's going to bring them back. I mean, I already gave my spiel on that. I don't think they should be locked behind a paywall of having to make, I think it was 3 referrals to get one factory tour. But it is an extreme privilege to get to go to the Tesla factory, one of them. I'm lucky to have the biggest one in America, I guess, by car volume, not by footprint, but they're all big. It doesn't matter. I guess I shouldn't even classify it, but it's a great privilege to get to have one of them, the original one, in my backyard, and I'm super excited to head over there tomorrow. And again, looking forward to seeing at least a handful of you that have said you're going to attend as well. But for now, it is time to go. My name, of course, is Ryan McCaffrey. Thank you all so much for your time, your attention. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing in this weekly, just Tesla enthusiastic sharing of joy. That's the goal here, is to just celebrate and have fun talking about this thing that we all enjoy, these cars that we all love. For a snoozing Daisy the Boxer to my left, I'm Ryan. This was Ride the Lightning episode 475. Oh, I'll give you a teaser next week since this has already done it in the can. I have a fun little interview with the president of the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin next week. It's not about Owners Club stuff. He does fire safety. He heard, his name's Mike, and Mike heard me talk about the Tesla semi-fire a couple of episodes ago. And he has a nonprofit that he started with the help, because he has a background in first response. And he started a nonprofit to go around the country and go educate first responders on EVs and how to, just helping understand them better and respond to situations. So we had a really good conversation a couple days ago. And so that's teed up and ready for next week's podcast. I hope you look forward to that. And in the meantime, happy electric motoring, my friends.
Elon Musk, people don't like Elon Musk. The guy founded PayPal and Tesla, and people are like, yeah, but he's a troll and a bad dad. I'm like, so was mine. He did nothing to fight climate change. Also, have you been in a Tesla? Have you been in a Tesla? My buddy let me drive his Tesla. I laughed out loud at how fast it went. Been clinically depressed my entire life, on dozens of medications, in a Tesla for 13 seconds, cured forever.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.